Hey guys, welcome back to M7 Metalworks. I'm Chris, and we're going to look at restoring a vise today. It's one of my favorite manufacturers, Columbian, and this is a 603.5 Columbian. It's in really, really good shape, and I know it's been a while since I made a video, so first of all, let me apologize. It's been a nice break, I'm not going to lie, but it's time to get back into making some videos. We're into early spring here in Indiana, and the weather is really, really nice, so we're going to get back to doing a few more videos. I've got several vices I still need to restore. This particular vise is a giveaway vise. I'm going to give this vise away. We've got something for our church called an Ironman. It's basically where a bunch of the men get together and we just have a little bit of fellowship and fun and food and good conversation. But I'm going to make this something to give away at the Ironman this week, which is Friday. It's Tuesday right now, so I've got a few days to get this done. A friend of mine, Eric, and I were discussing the best choice on whether to paint this or to do an oil finish or a clear coat. And, you know, looking at this vise, it's in really, really good condition. And I'll bring you around it here in just a second. But the vise is in real good condition. It doesn't have a lot of grinding marks and file marks on it. The jaws look to be very crisp. And so it's not going to need a bunch of welding or anything like that. So I think we're going to do an oil finish on this. It'll keep it, it'll keep it the antique-y look that I particularly like, as well as protect it from rust, future rust. And this is just a good all-American vise. You know, they don't make these anymore. And so let's protect it. Let's get it to somebody that I think will appreciate it at the Ironman. And so let's just have fun getting this thing restored. First things first, we're gonna have to break it down. So we'll break it down and then we'll wire wheel it, and then we'll clean all the parts up and get it oiled, lubed, and put back together. And that's really all this thing needs. It's in very good condition. Let me just bring you in and I'll run you around the vise right now. You can see how crisp those jaws are. I'm not sure how well they'll show up on the camera, but really, really good condition. Got a little bend in the bar there, but that's nothing. We can fix that. But you see how nice and crisp the slide edges are. Not a bunch of grind marks on the top. Real crisp jaws, and I think we'll have this thing looking like brand new. So let's get cracking. All right, so let's get the base off. Just a 15/16 wrench. Get her broke free. And I'm going to record this in real time. I might skip a little something, but I'll try not to. And that way you can see how quickly this vise breaks down. It's very, very rapid. Just a small washer goes there as well. We got to get this thing here off. Let me zoom you in. You guys are not zoomed in right now. All right, we've got the bolt on the base taken off. And now I'm just unscrewing our lock nut here for the rotating of the swivel base. All right, that's off. You can see it's got some bends in it on one side. I think the other side looks fairly straight. So we've got just a little bit of a bend there. It's simple. That won't be hard to get out. Then of course we've got this right here. I just push it from the other side so you can see how easily that comes out. And then this just comes right off. It's in real good shape, the base is. It's got little notches. I don't know how well that's going to show up, but it's got little notches that these notches fit into. So once you snug it, you don't have to get crazy tight on this. So there's no reason to bend the bar on these. Those notches go right in those slots. So, well, See if I can demonstrate it. So those notches go right in the slots, and then there is no movement really. It's got you might get a little bit, really not much at all. I mean, once they're engaged in the slots, there's no move in that. So the base is in real good shape. Don't see any issues at all there. So now what we need to do is we need to remove the slide from the body of the vise. So that's real simple to do. It's a bit stiff in some areas, but we'll fix that once we get everything cleaned and lubed. Okay, now the vise isn't moving anymore. The screw has stopped pushing it out. So now we'll just give her a little bit of wax here. We can loosen that base up. She's coming. All right, there we go. Sorry for all the noise. Now we'll disassemble the rest of that base because you've got a nut in there here and there. But first things first, we've got a collar here and a little locking nut, just a set screw. We'll pull out of there. In this case, it just takes a standard screwdriver. Yeah, if I can get it in there. All right. There's our set screw. I'll just stick it aside. All right, now to get that collar off, it's going to take a little bit of work. Let me grab a punch. All right, I got a big punch here. We'll use that. Typically, once you get her moving, she comes all the way out. And we do have a winged bushing, or and I say bushing, not really a bushing, more of kind of a copper bearing. You can see it's got little slots in it where the oil or grease would allow it to kind of sit in there. Our lead screw looks fantastic. I don't think the bar's bent at all. That's a good sign. Inside of there looks great. There's really, looking inside of this, is really not even any rust in there, which is kind of amazing. So it's been probably kept in a pretty nice place. It didn't have any rust. Now, in here we've got our lead screw in there, and there's always a little pin here. Now, you'll see in a lot of videos how many guys try to take a punch and punch that pin all the way through, which is just silly, because now you're taking the entire pin through the body of that base, when all you need to do is just put your punch on this side and punch it. It's generally pretty simple. Let me get a punch. All right, here's our punch. I need just a little bit. This has got just a little bit of a lip. Let me get a smaller punch. All right, just a little bit smaller punch. Okay, there's our pin. Put that aside. Now the pin is no longer keeping that from coming out, and it's just a matter of breaking that little bond there. There we go. There's our nut. That's complete disassembly. That's every piece on this vise taken off. All right then. So, including our pin and our set screw. So it's all there. Now it's just a matter of cleaning it up. So I'm going to wire wheel most of this, and then we'll go from there. Go ahead and heat this up. All right, I'm just going to put it right off the edge of the anvil here. Should be able to do this in one heat. That's pretty darn good. And we'll give it a good scrub in here to shine her up. Yeah, that's pretty good. You might have just a little, give her a little pop right there. That's looking good. Just using an acid brush just to wipe on some boiled linseed oil, and then I'll take a clean cloth and I'll take the excess off with a cloth. And you don't have to get the metal real hot. It spreads on there, obviously, if it's warm, a lot easier. And I think it just gives it a better coat. It just seems to almost go into the pores of the metal a little bit. So I always tend to put heat, but you can go without heat. It just won't spread on there as well. Your linseed oil will be a lot thicker and just doesn't do as good a job. So I'll go ahead and do all the pieces like this, including the body of the vise. Just giving them a little bit of heat, just like I'm doing here. And continue to get my oil on there. You can see when I hit it with this brush, it just melts right onto it. And it'll leave a really nice sheen when we're done. When I wipe all this off, the excess off, it'll leave a really nice sheen on the metal, and it gives it a layer of protection for rust protection. So, and I just think it gives it a really good look. So. So once she cools off just a little bit, then we'll wipe the excess down. But that's really all there is to it. All right, while we're sitting here waiting for some things to dry, one of the things during cleanup that I noticed, I'm gonna do my best to show this, is if you look right here, you can see where that's been hit. So that may have been dropped at some point, but either way, it has created a bit of a lip right there where that's raised just ever so slightly, but it's enough that it's going to create a situation where that's touching the table and the rest of it around there isn't. And so it's a stress point. So we're going to file that off, and at the same time we'll run a file on all of these flat surfaces just to make sure there aren't any other little burrs or something sticking up that'll cause an issue. For that, I'm just going to use a flat file. Just run it straight on there. You can clearly see it's the only thing touching there. There's a little spot there. Not much there. Maybe the spot is right here. All right, well, you can see now where I'm starting to hit the areas around it. So that tells me that I'm flat again. So, and then I hit a few small little other areas that shined up when I took it. So now we'll just let that dry, and then we'll put the whole thing back together. I think I'll probably put it together while it's still slightly wet. And then when it's dry, I can buff it up. Okay guys, it's time to put this thing back together, and to do that we're going to just essentially assemble it just as we disassembled it in reverse order. Now I do mix up a little bit of my grease, so I use a multi-purpose grease, and then I mix it with some gear oil, and that's what I've been doing for quite a while now with my vices. It gets my grease just kind of a little bit runnier, and makes the consistency a little bit more to my liking. So the first thing we'll do is we'll get our lead nut back in there, And that just gets slid right back in place. And we put that in there. There is our pin. Sink it in just a little bit deeper. And all I'm doing is looking at the underside to see how deep it is in there. I think so. I've recessed it in there deep enough that it's not poking through, but it's still recessed in there a little bit. And then all I've done is just give that little bit of a tap just to keep the lead nut from being able to move in and out a whole bunch. All right, next thing we'll do, I think we'll put our slide back together. So let's get that going. And we need our lead screw collar. So that has to go in first. And it's going to go, I think it's fairly intuitive. There's really only one way it goes in properly. So we're going to put that in, and we're going to put that in. There we go. And I'll put a little bit of grease on both sides. I don't have to go crazy here. I'm just looking for where my set screw goes, and I see it. Goes right there. Just gonna snug that up. You'll know when you're in the hole when your set screw goes deep into the collar, because it won't go very far. It won't get deep into that collar. And then all I'm doing here is just throwing a little bit of extra grease down in there. There we go. And now I'm going to grease up my lead screw. I'm not going to get crazy, but I am going to put a layer of grease on it. Remember, this is quite a bit thinner than just standard grease, because I have mixed the gear oil with it. And I like that because it makes it a little bit easier to work the handle when you're tightening something or loosening something. You put that thick grease in there and it can make it a little bit tough to operate. I think while we've got this off, I think we'll stick this base to it. Now, if you remember, there's a few things we got to put on. Let's get a little bit of grease on this. That's got to go up in there. So simple to do that. And then that goes off to our side. So we'll put that on first, and then our lead nut, our swivel nut. Again, just getting a good measure of grease down into it. All right, that's in there now. Now, throw that up. Throw a little bit of grease onto this. There we go. And that goes right in there. Screws in super, super nice. Bit of fun, nothing major. We want that thing to be able to rotate. So, yes, nice. So that locks it in. That's how that base works. You don't have to snug it up super tight. Once it gets in those, I mean, at that point, it's not going to move. All right. Going together really, really smooth. Now we're going to slide that in. Hopefully engage our nut. We'll know soon enough. I believe we're already engaged. Yep. Oh, thing goes in like butter now. Okay, guys, now we're going to let this sit and we're going to let it dry. Then I'll buff it up and I'll bring you back for the final reveal. Well, here she is, guys, the final finished product. I think it turned out really fantastic. You can see now it's dry. That boiled linseed oil does a really good job. It puts a bit of a sheen on it, but you do need to give it time to dry. It'll be a little tacky for hours after you've put it on, but then once it dries, it gives it a nice clean surface and protects it a bit from rust. So the Columbian Vise company, we'll show you that right here. See if I can zoom in a little bit on that number. It's a number 603.5. And I want you to see how nice these jaws are. And this vise wasn't used very much. And you can see it's got a whole lot of life left in it. I didn't get worried about little things like this. Now these have been intentionally placed there. Now, I'm not real sure why a guy would do that, but those are very obviously, that 3 dots there was put there intentional. I left them. It's part of the character of the vise. It's part of its history. So, but again, look how crisp these edges are on the vise. Just, it's really, really good condition. I love the antique-y feel. Now I did make, I think, a mistake right here, and you guys leave in the comments here what you think. I've only done one other Columbian vise, and I'm gonna have to go check my other one to see if I did the same thing. But the impregnated side, that copper side, is I've placed facing the vise body versus the handle, but I'm pretty sure because the handle is what moves on this winged washer that we put here, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to take that off. So I'm going to do that as soon as we're done videotaping here. But just so you know, that side there is supposed to be facing this handle, I'm certain, because that's obviously the pivot point. The other side just sits flat against the body of this vise. So that's one mistake I made. So I'm going to pull the set screw out, pull this washer out, flip it over, put a little more grease on it, stick it back in there. And it's a quick, easy thing. It'll take probably 2 or 3 minutes to do, but I just wanted you guys to know that in case you're doing a vise of your own that's a Columbian. Now, a lot of people will gripe and say, well, the Columbian vices aren't as good as the Reeds and the Parkers and that kind of thing because they're hollow up in here. And they are hollow. They actually they're hollow up into this area here. I mean, they go pretty deep into that area and they're hollow. And I will say this, that's true. And are they as stout as a Reed or a Parker? Probably not. But I can say this, I've seen lots of these Columbian vices out there. I have friends that have them. I have neighbors that have them. I've seen them at auction. I've seen them everywhere. I don't see a bunch of these cracked, even despite them being hollow up into here. So I think, and if you look at the casting on these Columbians, these older Columbians, I think the castings were made pretty nice. They don't have a lot of the flaws that you might see in some other vise companies. So I think they actually, despite being hollow, they're still a very strong vise. You just don't see a bunch of these cracked. And of course, this is a 3.5-inch vise anyways. You're not going to be putting big motor parts in this and just, you know, cranking on them. This is going to be something that's used for smaller stuff, a little more detail-oriented things. So just something to think about. The base turned out real nice. It doesn't have any rocking now since I filed that base down, so it turned out real nice. Our little swivel screw here is functioning perfectly. Got some nice grease in there. I probably need to clean up a little of that excess that's squishing out of there. And of course, our handle wasn't bent at all. And all I had to do was wire wheel it and clean it up. And then I put some boiled linseed oil on it. And that's it, guys, for the Columbian 603.5 vise. Hope you enjoyed the video. I got several more vices coming up, and I'm going to a big auction tomorrow. I'll probably get some video of that and share it with y'all as well in a future video.